Welcome students. I'm Dr. Sonu Shiva, Associate Professor, Department of English, Government Dungar College, Bikaner. This session is for BA second year English Literature paper first. Let's continue with the poem The Lotus Eaters by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Students, in my previous sessions, I've already completed 5 initial stanzas of the poem and 4 stanzas from the choric song. Before we move further in this poem, let's have a recap of the previous session. In part third, we have seen that the sailors of Ulysses, they give all sorts of logic not to go back to their homeland. So they effectively bring out the contrast between the life of man and that of the objects of nature in their song. We have seen that how they're comparing human life struggles with that of the peaceful and silent life of leaves, of fruits, of plants. They say that death is the end of life, man cannot escape it, that everything has to die in the end. Then why should life be full of labor? So they give this sort of a logic that why they should struggle in their life. When everything is doomed and weary, labor is the mockery of life. When everything is going to become meaningless in the end, then all this labor and all this struggle that a person puts up in life makes a mockery of life. They decide to enjoy peace and die quietly. They do not desire to return home, but want to cherish its memory only from a distance. So they are remembering their homeland. They are nostalgic about it, but they do not want to go back to that place. The poem creates a thematic tension between responsibility and freedom. One finds somewhere divided between these two things, responsibility and freedom. And here we see that how these sailors of Ulysses, they are choosing freedom over their responsibility of homeland. The memory of old responsibilities shadows their peace, and an ill-concealed sense of guilt lurks behind their resolution to war no more with evil. Somewhere we do feel as a reader that their sense of responsibility sometimes shadows their peaceful environment because they are thinking about their homeland, they are thinking about their families, and there might be some sense of guilt which is hiding in their resolution, in the way they have made up their mind that they are going to have no more war and no more adventures and no more voyages in future. Now let's have a look at the text. This is 5th stanza from choric song. And the mariners say, how sweet it were hearing the downward stream, with half-shut eyes ever to see falling asleep in a half-dream, to dream and dream like yonder amber light which will not leave the myri bush on the height, to hear each other's whispered speech eating the lotus day by day. Again, the whole atmosphere is of laziness, is of lethargy. This stanza, it describes that how sweet the life of these mariners will be if they keep on staying in this place in an asleep condition, like a person who is in the half dream all the time, and they just want to be in this place and dream, and they just don't want to wake up, and they don't want to think about their families. And we see that they are imagining a very simple life, and they are not at all thinking about the negative aspects of being idle in this place. Rather, this sleeping and dreaming attracts them more because it has that peace, it has that relax, it has that quietness and calmness about it. Like yonder amber light which will not leave the myri bush on the height. They're talking about the beautiful amber light, the golden light which falls on the myri bush which is growing on the height, to hear each other's whispered speech eating the lotus day by day. Now here these mariners, they are dreaming of a life in which they can hear each other's whispered speech. So even the speech will be in whispers. It won't be disturbing their peace of mind while they are laying around eating the lotus day by day. So this is the only task that they are imagining that they are going to do over here, the time they are going to spend in this lotus eating island. Tennyson further writes, to watch the crisping ripples on the beach and tender curving lines of creamy spray, to lend our hearts and spirits wholly to the influence of mild-minded melancholy. So the poet uses the phrase mild-minded melancholy, and here you see that there's a repetition of the sound ma, that in the words like mild-minded melancholy, and this is called alliteration. Lot of literary devices are used in the poem, which you will be able to see time to time in the line. Tennyson, through these mariners, wants to say that these mariners, they want to live in this land and want to enjoy in the midst of nature. They want to watch the crisping ripples on the beach and tender curving lines of creamy spray. These mariners, they want to spend their time on this island watching the crisping ripples, that is the waves lashing on the beach, and the way the waves create a curving line of creamy spray. There's an image of waves creating curving lines on the beach, and they just want to admire it, laying in this land of Lotus Eaters. To lend our hearts and spirits wholly to the influence of mild-minded melancholy. Now, here we come to know that these mariners, they have completely committed their heart and spirit and their mind to this land of Lotus Island. Here the word melancholy does not mean to the sadness, rather they have committed completely to the peaceful atmosphere of this place, and they have no wish to go back to their homeland. To muse and brood and live again in memory with those old faces in our infancy, heaped over with the mound of grass, 2 handfuls of white dust shut in an urn of brass. Again here there is an image of death, and there is nostalgia. They are thinking about the faces, the people that they knew when they were infants, and they want to spend their time on this Lotus Island just in a memory. They just want to muse, they want to think deeply and brood about those faces, about those people whom they knew in their infant times, now who are no more in this world. Death has overtaken them. They are heaped over with the mound of grass. This mound of grass is again here refers to the grave. 2 handfuls of white dust shut in an urn of brass. So they are thinking about those old people whom they knew in their infancy, who are now buried in the mound of grass, or their ashes are shut in an urn of brass. And we see here that they are not bothered by death, because they know that they are living in the best possible version of life on this island. So they are talking about death, they are nostalgic, but there is no intention of returning to their homeland. When we analyze this stanza, we come to know that this stanza echoes the first stanza's positive appeal to luxurious self-indulgence. So here we see that how mariners, they prefer the luxury of this lotus land in comparison to the hazards of the voyage. And these mariners declare how sweet it is to live a life of continuous dreaming. So we here come to know that they are preferring sleep and relax to that of struggle. They paint a picture of what it might be like to do nothing at all day except sleep, dream, eat lotus and watch the waves on the beach. So this is the routine that they have chosen for themselves, just doing nothing but sleeping, dreaming, eating lotus and watching the waves on the beach. Even this monotony of this routine has an attraction for them, because that is preferable to all the hazards. Such an existence would enable them peacefully to remember all those individuals they once knew who are now either buried, heated over with a mound of brass, or cremated 2 handfuls of white dust, shut in an urn of brass. So they just want to remember things from the past. They just want to remember those individuals whom they knew in the past, but there is no intention of these mariners to go back to their homeland or meet their own people. There is an element of nostalgia, there is an element of death which is seen in this stanza, but again there is always preference for a dreamlike state in comparison to that of life of struggle. Now we come to the 6th stanza of Choric Song. Here he says, "Dear is the memory of our wedded lives, and dear is the last embraces of our wives, and their warm tears, but all hath suffered change. For surely now our household hearths are cold, our sons inherit us. Our looks are strange, and we should come like ghosts to trouble joy, or else the island princes, overbold, have eat our substance, and the minstrel sings before them of the 10 years' war in Troy, and a great deed as half forgotten things." So again, this stanza shows the logic, the reasoning that these mariners are doing in order to stay in this place and not going back to their homeland. Though they are nostalgic and they feel that they will not forget their past life because they have the memory of their wedded lives, which is very much dear to them, and they are also remembering the last moments that they spent with their wives when they were departing for this war of Troy. They say that they are not going to forget everything that used to matter to them, but they now accept this fact that there is nothing they can do to get back to how the things were. A lot of things have changed since they have left, because they are very sure now that household hearths are cold. That means no one now cooks food for them. Our sons inherit us. Maybe all their property has been now taken up by their son because they have become older, and then they say that our looks are strange and we should come like ghosts to trouble joy. Maybe the people of their homeland may not recognize them now, and they should be like ghosts who are just bringing trouble to their homeland instead of bringing joy. Or else the island princes overboard have eat our substance. Then again they put a logic that maybe that their island princes, that is the rulers of that place, have been overbold and they must have taken over their homes, and their deeds must have been forgotten, or their names must be smeared. And the minstrel sings before them of the 10 years war in Troy. The only memory now is left is people singing about this 10 years war of Troy, and our great deeds as half forgotten things. But maybe their great deeds, the hazard that they've taken up, the dangers they have undergone, and their war is a half forgotten thing, only a thing that can be mentioned in some song before the rulers. Tennyson further writes in his poem that, "Is there a confusion in the little isle? Let what is broken so remain. The gods are hard to reconcile. 'Tis hard to settle order once again." Here these mariners, they have a little question in their mind that what would have happened after they have left their little island. Was there any confusion? Was there any sort of a political upheaval in the place that where they lived before? But then soon we see that there is no intention in their mind to fix things if that is the case. So they say, "Let what is broken so remain." So they have no intention at all to again mend the thing which has gone wrong. The gods are hard to reconcile. Once a thing is broken, it's very hard to regain order once it's lost. So it's hard to settle order once again. Things cannot be reconciled, things cannot be put to order once they are lost. There is confusion worse than death, trouble on trouble, pain on pain, long labor unto aged breath. It is confusion is worse than death. It's better to die than to remain confused or than to struggle. because struggle brings trouble on trouble, pain on pain. Trouble attracts trouble, pain attracts pain. Long labor unto aged bread. And they have already undergone so much of labor, so much of struggle, and then what happens is that a person becomes aged and one dies. Sore task, hearts worn out by many wars. And now they are in this Lotus Island, and they don't find themselves competent enough to take that much of labor and that much of trouble and pain again, because their heart is already worn out by so many wars that they have fought, and eyes grown dim with gazing on the pilot stars. They have already taken up so many voyages that now their eyes have grown dim and they cannot take any more voyages in the sea. So they are absolutely thinking that they don't want to fix whatever is broken in their homeland. If we analyze the stanza, we come to know that the mariners reason that their families have probably forgotten them anyway, and their homes fallen apart, so they might as well stay in the land of Lotus Eaters. They give all sorts of logic that maybe nobody remembers them in their own land, so they somehow try to settle themselves in this Lotus Eaters island and feel that let what is broken so remain. Although they have fond memories of their wives and sons, surely by now, after 10 years of fighting in Troy, their sons have inherited their property. It will merely cause unnecessary confusion and disturbances for them to return now. So instead of doing anything good for their homeland, they are predicting that perhaps the return to their homeland is going to bring more confusion and disturbance instead of doing anything good to their place. Their hearts are worn out from fighting wars and navigating the sea by means of consolation, and thus they prefer the relaxing death-like existence of the land of the lotus to the confusion that return home would create. So here we see that these mariners, they have completely committed themselves to this place, and they are preferring this relaxing dream-like existence or death-like existence or sleepy existence in this land of lotus in comparison to the struggle and confusion which is going to be created if they return home. So students, we are going to conclude this poem in my next session. Thanks for now.